Hello, Mana TV viewers. Welcome to Healthy Life, the Vegan Way. I'm your host, Kalindi. Healthy Life, the Vegan Way is a series in collaboration with World Vegan Vision, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to encourage people to a more kind and compassionate way of life. They do this by spreading the love of veganism, vegan lifestyle for your health, for animal welfare, and for the conservation of our planet. Today, we are back with Dr. Shaniksha, the president of World Vegan Vision, and Ms. Neetu Jindal, the secretary of New Jersey chapter of World Vegan Vision. For those who are just joining us, Dr. Shah is a physician with over 35 years of practice in internal medicine, and he has been vegan for over 20 years. Throughout his journey, Dr. Shah has spread and still continues to spread the love of veganism and spirituality to his patients, friends, and everyone around him. He strongly recommends a vegan lifestyle to prevent, reverse, manage chronic diseases. Not only that, but just for a healthy life and for your mind and soul. Neetu Jindal is an attorney. She is secretary of New Jersey chapter of World Vegan Vision. She has been a vegan for over 24 years. And her story is very unique. She adopted veganism to stand up for those unheard voices. As a college student, she saw a video about atrocities on dairy cows and the torture they were subjected to, which became a turning point in her life. Overnight, she turned vegan, and it has been 24 years since then. Since then, she's taken up a path to fight against animal cruelty. She volunteers her time exposing cruel factory farming practices and engages in outreach activities and spreads awareness about veganism. Her mission in life is to create a kinder world for animals. She's mom to a 9-year-old son, Nirvan, who she raised vegan, and he follows mom's pursuit as an animal rights activist. Welcome, Dr. Shah and Neetu.
Thank you.
So today we will be continuing our discussion where we left off from last week, discussion about dairy farming, poultry farming, and the cruelty, how animals are these animals who are just from birth, they are just, raised to end up on a plate. And last week we discussed, we showed you certain irrefutable and disturbing facts about what kind of treatment these animals go through. So today we are going to talk more about it and show you some, graphic images that you will see how torturous life these animals are, they are forced to live. So let's begin our discussion today on, the fact behind how a cheeseburger, a hot dog, a piece of steak, pork chops, mutton, how all these, dishes we relish, how these end up from a factory farm to your dinner table. So, Dr. Shah, if we can, start with how our idea about this chickens walking around in the farms and, in happy farms, and how do they end up where they end up?
Yeah, I would like to share some slides. I think the picture is worth more than 1,000 words. And all these pictures are real, but they are graphic. And I just want the viewers to understand that there is some element of graphic nature with these images, but they are the facts and they are the reality. And sometimes, as Neetuji always tells me, said, Dr. Shah, sometimes these things are necessary to wake up some people at least. And that is the way, that is the whole purpose of this show. So I'm sorry about the graphic images, but I think they are necessary. So let me bring you up. I'm going to start with this animal cruelty. This is my a basic slide which shows the affectionate bond between a cow being the mother and the calf being the child. But this is where it does not really exist. Even though the love exists between them, the reality is that very few cows really end up staying close to their mothers. So because of our desire for the milk, we end up separating this mother and the child, and which is atrocity, which is an atrocious act that we humans are doing on the animals. So that's why we're really trying to bring this show to really make you aware that your food choices can change not just you, but even the whole world. And this is how we're going to show you. So this, you think that these cows are really roaming free in the nature and in the grass, and you see on the milk cartons and all those things, but it really is not the case. They are all tied up with these cages and cages and cages, and the farms are filled with these kind of cows. And this, they really have no room to wiggle, and they're fed the food, staying at one spot. They're continuously standing without any rest. And all these atrocities are continuously being conducted because this is the most economical way of handling the cows. If they are roaming free in the farms, it's going to be impossible to go and collect every single cow when it's time for milking them. So this is not going to happen. The same thing and the same thing in a different structure. The cows are continuously circulating, and this is how the milk is continuously being done in a row after row after row. The cows are being subjected to this punishment where they are continuously standing on one place. And this is really very, very uncomforting.
And just like you said last time, these cows don't see daylight.
Correct. They never see any daylight. So they have to be built up with the immunity. They end up getting the antibiotics so because they are so close to each other, and because the infections don't take over and make the cows sick, they are loaded with antibiotics. And like we said earlier, the same antibiotics we are given when we go to the doctors, and then these are the same antibiotics being used for the animals. And we think that how come these infections are not going away? That is not a surprise, because through the milk, through the meat, all these antibiotics are coming into our body. And when we have a little bit sick, these bacteria are already exposed to those antibiotics through our diet. And it's not a surprise that these antibiotics don't do the job. But the milk is really a stealing phenomenon, because really the milk is supposed to be for the baby calf. But man is the only industry in the world. Man is the only animal that is supporting that big industry like this, where the milk is stolen away from another animal's mother. And that's not just for 6 months, like the baby calf does, or our baby does 6 months, 8 months, and then they quit. But we keep on drinking milk for the rest of our life. And this is what's causing the unimaginable cruelty on the calves and the cows. What do you think, Nitu?
I totally agree with what you're saying, Doctor. Humans happen to be the only species that drinks the milk of another species. Even within, for example, the monkey community, right? Monkey species, you will never see a langur monkey, for example, drinking gorilla's milk. Even within the species, we don't do that. You don't see a cat drinking a dog's milk. We are the only animal that will drink another species milk. We cause so much pain to these animals. As you've rightly said, these animals are put through, like the picture that you have right now is of a dairy farm, which is probably the better, the best case scenario actually, where then this cow is not actually, even though she's tied up, she's not rotating on those machines that you showed earlier.
Correct.
Yeah. So we put them through so much trauma. I mean, they are just as feeling and the fearing, loving animals as we are. They also have PTSD like we do. They go through depression as we do, but we don't consider any of that, and we put them through all of this pain just for a taste of milk or a steak, or it's just a matter of a few seconds of taste. Pretty much, as taste only lasts for a few seconds and when it goes down your throat, you don't even feel the taste. But for these animals, it's a lifetime of torture just for that.
We talked about the artificial insemination last time, that it was really atrocious. And this is what really turned me off, like I mentioned in the last show, that artificial insemination is literally a rape on a cow, because it's no different than a woman being impregnated against her own will. So I will not get too much into the details because we have a lot of other things to talk about. And this is a machine that is used to punch the numbers on the cow's ears. You can imagine if anything like that is used on our ears, we will be really severe agony. But these cows go through this suffering frequently.
Can you explain why are they numbered, Neetuji?
Sure. So they have such a lot of cattle. This is one of the method to number the cows. There's another one called branding. And branding actually is a hot iron. It actually, if you see the next picture, you can actually, as I just saw it, like with the number, actually, they burn the number into the body of the cow. If you see on the bottom, on her hind leg, you see a number there. They actually burn that number into her body. And they do it because they have so many cows to account for. So they will do it, even they do it to horses as well. They do this, of course, if somebody did that to me, I would be crying for days, but there's no anesthesia used. There's nothing used for the cows, for the pain. They burn, they cry, and we just do it because we have some accounting things to do, with these animals.
Giving the milk, like we think that that's all they are supposed to do. So despite all this pain and suffering, they just are kept brought in back again and again and again to milk them all the time. We think that they are just being born just for humans' consumption. That's it. And that's all their life is.
One thing we have to remember that every animal has its own purpose, including us. We are an animal too. We all have our own purpose. We don't have to forget that nobody's here. I am not here to serve another animal. Similarly, another animal is not here to serve me. So when we say words like cows give us milk, they don't give us milk. We forcibly take the milk.
Right.
Chickens give us eggs. No, they don't give us eggs. Unfortunately, since kindergarten, we have been, our kids are being shown this old MacDonald had a farm, kind of, poetry, nursery rhymes. And we kind of socially, ingrain into their minds that it is okay to take it from these animals. Then what else is their purpose? Their purpose is only to give to us,
If the poetries had any connection with the reality, they would be sounding very different. And they say, well, the chicken was killed and the baby was killed and the baby calf was sent for will consumption. The poetries will be sounding very different. Unfortunately, that is more of a reality, but we hide those realities from our own children. And when we were children, those kind of realities were hidden from us. So we grow up thinking that cow just gives milk.
Just like the first picture that you showed, Dr. Shah. The first picture of the mother cow and the calf. That's the image we are used to, that's the image, the beautiful image we are used to seeing. And that's what we associate milk with. But after seeing all these graphic realities, the irrefutable facts that, in front of us, it's just hard to believe.
But look at this image where the male calves are being taken away to the slaughterhouse and their mother is running after them because there is a bond. The bond that we don't see it does not mean it does not exist. And it is so cruel and so agonizing to see this mother cow running after her own children being taken away, which she knows that she's never going to see them again.
And we kind of objectify them as milk, as beef, as, veal, sort of forgetting the actual being.
Why is this necessary? Why this much cruelty is necessary just for our pleasures? Who drinks milk nowadays for need? Most of them, milk products are consumed for purpose, for enjoying. Cheese and ice creams and cookies and candies and all those are pleasure items. For that, we have to subject this kind of cruelty is really inhuman.
And also we had mentioned in our previous, shows also that the whole belief that, milk, vitamin D comes from milk and you get this calcium from milk and essential nutrients, which are all kind of like, you don't have to rely on milk for all that. Right, Dr. Shah, we had discussed that.
If they do a research that human kidneys are good for the cows, do you think anybody will donate kidneys for the cow? It won't happen, right? So this is really a torture, slavery of the animals for our purpose. So this is just not right. This is the picture from India where the cows are being taken for leather industry. And this is how much suffering they go through. And this is on the way to the slaughterhouse. This is a typical image of the bullocks, the bell they call in India. They are being used in the farms to do the plowing. And this is how we see, but nobody understands what these bells come from. How do they derive? These are not the female cows because they cannot give the milk. So these are the male versions. They are the male cows. But what happened to them? Why do they come here? And if you really think about it, this is the real bull. This is how much power the real bull has. It takes so many people to really control them. How do they go from this to this? They become so docile and they become so cooperative on the fields to make us, do whatever we want to do to them. How does this happen? So the key thing is the difference between this bull and then these bulls is the removal of their male hormones. The male hormones are changed. Basically, the male cow loses his power. And how do they do that? For that, believe it or not, and even it's still being practiced in villages where the tractors are not there to plow the fields. This is the castration system they have devised. This is how the testicles are subjected to the removal altogether, and they stop producing the testosterone, basically. And this is how it is being done with the pliers like that, of course, without anesthesia and with the total torture. You can imagine how, if this is being done to the male community, males part of our community, but the testicles are removed, it would be one of the worst atrocity conducted on a human being. But this is routinely done, especially in the villages. Of course, where the factory farms are there, they really don't need to use the bullocks for plowing the fields, obviously. So they are cut up and sold for meat consumption.
And that's where the beef comes from, right?
Where the beef comes from, correct.
This castration thing, I just saw an image on Instagram today. It's also done, it's a similar thing that's done to pigs as well.
Is that right?
Yeah. So it's a lot of torture that we don't even think twice. We don't even see these images. Like Kalindi, you said previously, we see these green pastures and beautiful sun shining, cow and the calf and, chickens like frolicking around. But what we don't see is that they don't ever see the sunlight. The only time they see the sunlight of, breathe fresh air is when they're on their way to slaughterhouses. Yeah. And that's how the whole irony of this whole thing is, that we are shown a certain image, we are given a certain way of thinking, by the advertising and by the people who do all these things to animals, for us to feel a little less guilty about what we are doing. I was saying the labels like humane slaughter, humane and slaughter cannot go in the same sentence. It's an oxymoron. You cannot kill and say it's humane, so we use words like that just to make us feel a little bit less guilty for our actions, saying organic meat or pasture raised, beef, or,
free
range chickens, all of that is just playing the words that are being played, that they use, the advertising and the meat industries use to make us feel a little bit better about our choices, while they know that human beings are generally compassionate, right? We're born compassionate. Our kids, our babies, they're born with that compassion. So we're taking it away from us, and they're making us feel a little bit better about what we are doing to these animals.
Sometimes I feel that our mental space is being rented out, and without any rent, these tenants have gotten in. All these industries with their billboards and false information, they capture our mind in such a way that they make us believe that we are doing the right thing. And we really have this time for us to wake up and reoccupy our own mental space for our own thinking. Our thinking is actually done by them. They make us believe in them, and that's just not right.
And sorry to interrupt, Dr. Shah, but the image that you showed before of the bullocks, right? Yeah. 2 bullocks on a farm. That's the image we are used to seeing, like bullocks, like nicely standing on a farm. I feel I can never, after seeing this, I can never go back to thinking that they are, very happy standing there.
It's always the other way around.
Right.
Yeah. Bidding goodbye to her baby. Again, this is a male calf that's going away. As any mother, as I would, totally feels sad about letting, and she probably even knows that she has no choice in this case.
So sad. Because the wheel is coming from the young male calf, and if they start getting bigger, that the meat loses its texture. So they really keep them in the cages so that they don't grow, and then eventually they are slaughtered. When the order comes, they're immediately sent out. So that's one of the worst thing. And a lot of restaurants are actually becoming more awake and alert about serving the veal. So a lot of times they make it a point that they don't serve the veal because it's really inhuman. Now we go into the different section for the chicken. Chicken industry is not free from any more cruelties than what has been conducted on the cows. Nitu, you want to talk about this?
Sure. Yeah. So chicken happens to be one of the most abused animal on the planet. Even people who think that red meat is not good for them, or even out of guilt or whatever the reason might be, they will still consume chicken, saying that, oh, it's white meat, it's probably good for me.
Right. It's low in fat, low fat, or it's considered to be better than the red meat.
Correct. And Dr. Shah can confirm that that's not true. It's just as bad.
Yeah. I mean, the cholesterol wise, all the antibiotics wise, the hormones. Actually, chickens are very smart animals. And there was a study done on them. They said that chickens, and we consider them stupid animals, but they actually have a capacity to identify 64 of their close relatives, like brothers and sisters and uncles and niece and all that. The study was actually a very good biological study done, and they realized that chickens are very smart, but we really don't pay attention to their smartness. We just eat them up like anything else. And the meat is a meat, definitely. All animals are made out of cholesterol, and cholesterol is fat. So whatever part of the animals we eat, we're going to have cholesterol. And cholesterol being fat also brings a lot of fat-soluble chemicals, which are coming from the animals versus plants, which are water-based. So all those chemicals get into our body and cause the cancer because they dissolve in our body fat, and then they're continuously being released. So yeah, there is no really better. Cholesterol-wise, maybe a little less compared to the meat, but the cruelty-wise is really no different or worse, I think.
So this last week, we were actually trying to save some chickens. We saved about hundreds of chickens last week from a religious ritual where chickens are sacrificed. And I happened to be in close quarters with these chickens who we rescued from that ritual. And I realized they are just as scared. I remember we had about 6 or 7 chickens in a box. And when we put them in the box, they were so scared, they were shivering, and they huddled together, put their head under each other, like they're trying to hide, they're trying to put their face under out of fear. So all of those things that I and you and all of us feel, that fear is there, is prevalent. It's the, we cannot say that they don't have any feelings. They have.
They do.
So as we went to the farm and we took them out, to sanctuaries, they were actually happy. You could see that happiness in them, and they separated and they were like, inspecting the place. Right. So they are no different from your dog or cat. They're no different from you and I, So unfortunately, because these animals cannot speak, or whatever little they speak, we cannot understand. We think of them as non-feeling, but they're just as sentient.
Actually, I was on a cruise in the Greek Isles, and then we were on one of the islands, and like the cruise stays there for several hours, and then we were going around, and there was a hill that we all climbed. There were like 3-4 friends of ours. It was a beautiful scene, where there's a farmer and they had all the farms set up and all that. So we were very happy to see a countryside, and the farmer was a very happy guy. He came and talked to us, very, very, really calm and very enjoyable, and smile on his face and all that. And then suddenly he went inside the house and was coming out, and suddenly we started seeing that these chickens were starting making so much noise, which were all in their cages and all that. I said, what happened? We didn't do anything. He says, no, it's me. Then he took out a big knife from his behind. And so almost 200 feet away, the chickens knew that he's coming to kill them. And that was so sad. So that just turned us off. We walked away. So it is for real. The feelings are for real, but we just don't care because of our likes for this kind of meat consumption. It's unfortunate. The violence is a result of likes, our desires. The more desires you have, it makes you more kind of callous towards the suffering of other animals. So it's time that we should really rethink our likes and dislikes, you know.
True. True. And when you say the last slide said free range eggs, free range chicken, right? Now, free range is again another word that we just say, or the marketing, of any meat industry will say, so that you don't feel as bad. So what free range is exactly what is on the screen right now. So back in the day, or the ones that are not free range pretty much are in small coops, one on top of each other, So in free range, they're still one on top of each other, but there is no walls in between. The coop is just bigger. This is what it looks like. Do you see even a space like a few inches where the animals can move? They cannot.
No.
Yeah, and so they peck each other because they feel frustrated, as I would if I was standing in a very crowded area, like even a train like ride. Where I'm from Mumbai, right? So I've been in very crowded trains, and I know how annoying that is. But this is like lifetime. I'm only talking about half an hour ride, which is so annoying already. This is from the time they're born till the time they die. This is their life. Now, in order to facilitate that, there's something that's called de-beaking. Because of course they peck each other. These animals will peck each other out of frustration. Okay, so this is the process. It's a hot blade that goes over the baby chick's beak, and it takes it off altogether without any anesthesia, of course. And this is only so that they don't peck each other.
And this is the end result. Look at such an innocent chick, now has no beak at all. And they're trying to save these chickens from killing each other, because if they keep on packing, the packing is a result of stress generated from such suffering. And so because of the beaks, they end up killing each other. And that's a loss to the business. Just because of that, they just remove the beaks. It's very unfortunate.
Yeah. What is a bird without a beak? Imagine. Yeah. So we put them through all this trauma just to have a few minutes of taste in our mouth. And even like this picture, if you see, the regular chicken, right, the way it's supposed to be, or the way the weight of the chicken is, in 1957, I believe there were no hormones being used, and slowly the hormones were introduced. So the same chicken went from 905 grams to almost double to 1808 grams. And now from that, like it's almost 4 times from 1957 to it's almost like 4,200 grams. The reason for that is because we want more meat. So they're genetically modified to eat a lot. So the chickens that we saved last week were all genetically modified. They were still babies, but they were only 4 weeks, but they were as big as the first chicken picture that you see. So they still had a lot of room to grow. And by the time they are adults, they will be so big that they will not be able to stand on their own 2 feet. So the sanctuaries that we gave these chickens to actually will have to put them on a diet, so they don't die from overeating, because they're genetically modified that they have to keep pecking and eating and eating and eating. So they become so big that most of them cannot even walk on their legs.
What a cruel way of doing the business.
Plus the antibiotics, the steroids that they're continuously injected. I mean,
and this is the condition of their skin, because they are continuously kept in the cages. The one which are caged, the torso keeps on rubbing against the wires, and they invariably have these ulcerations and things like that, and frequently infected, in fact. And then when the chicken meat comes in, nobody is really there to look whether it's an infected part or not. They just are sold, and then you end up eating it also.
Also tumors, right? A lot of these animals, they suffer from huge tumors.
Yep.
In fact, I saw a video of a slaughterhouse where they were just piercing those, like with the knife, like cutting those things open. The pus was flowing out, but those chickens were still on the I don't know what you call this line where it just keeps going in one, like it's a machine that takes them.
Right.
Yeah. So they were just cutting those ulcers or those boils open, letting
Mm.
the pus flow out, but they were still being used for food. You know,
Wow.
imagine all of that stuff just goes in our body. You know,
So the,
and then we talk about, like, when the hormones go in our body, we talk about like puberty coming a little bit sooner, right?
mm,
Especially with girls.
Girls, right?
Um, all of these cancers and everything. I mean, where are these going to go? They are going to go in your body, right?
of course.
Yeah.
Because if they try to remove those things, it's a loss to the business. So they don't care. It's weight to weight, it's pound to pound. It's profit. That's all really matters. So all this suffering, is it really worth? When you eat your chicken wings, do we really think about how much suffering the chickens go through? No, we don't, because we are so fixated on the taste of the chicken wings. And that's what I say. Our likes our desires are the cause for callousness. And really, it's time to wake up and rethink the strategy of life.
Yeah. So this is the rosy picture that's shown. Green grass,
Green
big,
grass,
big,
absolutely.
healthy looking chickens, sunlight, all of that stuff. The reality is they're standing on their own poop, uh, with a broken leg, most likely in this case. The wings are fallen off. They're
Mm,
very bad shape. And this is not out of regular. This is not like one-off picture. This is how exactly all the chickens are going to look. It
mm,
is, it is not something that you say, oh, the one chicken out of 100. No, this is exactly 100 out of 100. And we don't see this. All we see is that nicely cooked food that comes to the plate, or to your plate, which smells good, looks good, has been spiced up or whatever, in whatever way, cooked and given to us.
And
so
I'd
that,
assume it's the same with pork, with the pigs, the same similar
so,
conditions, similar treatment. With goats, lamb, all those animal farm that go through the same treatment on an factory farms.
yeah. So actually, all this plight of all these female chickens, of course, because they are the one who lay the eggs, you think that this is atrocious. So compared to that, you would really think that the male counterpart probably would not have to go through suffering. And you think that they're better off because they don't have to be subjected to such a suffering. And I think you may be right, because they're killed immediately. But the torture methods which are being used to kill them is really atrocious. They are kept on the conveyor belts. Can you imagine the chicks? If your child is on such a conveyor belt, look at this. They're so innocent and fluffy and very cute looking chicks, but they know that they are going to be killed. So they're trying to hold on to their own life. Is this really worth it? And this is where they end up with all the eggs, and they're part of the eggs which are useless, along with the chicks which are flying there right now. And they all go through the grinding machine, and they just are discarded through the garbage. This is really atrocious. So sometimes between the two cruelties, you ask yourself whether the male, is it better to be a male chick or a female chick? I don't know. I don't know. That's an answer I don't think I can answer.
It's good to be both, as long as you get to live and the world allows you to live.
This is
Look
just,
at the crowding on these birds.
now we'll switch the gears to the beef.
Yeah. So the beef, if as you're aware, right, 1 kg of beef will only feed 2 people. But to have that cow grow to a certain size, you have to keep the cow fed. To produce 1 kg of beef, a cow has to consume 16 kgs of grain, which feeds 20 people. Now, if you think about this whole picture, don't you see that the world hunger problem would actually be solved if we eliminate the meat
Beef,
part of it,
correct.
Right.
and I mean, human beings are meant to eat grains, right? So
Yeah,
we give the what we are meant to eat to us, and take care of these billions of people who are suffering in third world countries who don't have any food to eat. Even in a country like America, there are people who don't have 2 square meals to eat,
Right.
yeah,
and we are feeding the animals
yeah.
so that they can feed 2 people. I mean, that makes no
That makes sense.
sense. Yeah, it's
Neetu was not with us when we talked about this rule of 10. Do you realize that, Kalindi?
Yes,
Now we
that's
talk about
exactly what I'm thinking when
two
looking at
people
this
versus
picture.
20 people, 10 times. that rule of 10, again, true to the words, to the numbers, down to the right thing. So like we were talking about that the farms, the 70-80% of the farms are growing food only to feed the animals, and it's not worth it.
Amazon rainforests are being cut so that they can grow more grains for the animals, because as human population is increasing, so is the need for these animal proteins, right? Yeah. So in order to feed the growing population of humans, Amazon is being cut. And Amazon happens to be our lungs. I mean, without Amazon forest, we don't have enough oxygen to breathe. But at this point, we're not even thinking about that. Only thing we're thinking about is animal protein, meat. What kind of like thinking is this? Where we don't think about our own, like it's like the story that in India we have the Sheikh chili, like you're cutting the same branch that you're sitting on.
Yeah.
If you don't have the oxygen, what are you going to be doing in this world, right? Plus, all of this animal agriculture is increasing greenhouse gases.
Gases, right?
And if you put all of the transportation, like planes, ships, cars, trucks, everything that you can think of that runs on gas, if you take all of that together on one side and take all of the animal agriculture on one side, animal agriculture, hands down, is much, much bigger producer of pollution than all of these vehicles. So me and you taking shorter showers, taking public transportation, trying to recycle, reuse, and all of that, all of the stuff that everybody's talking about is not even going to make a dent. Yes. What is going to make a dent is by going vegan. Let these animals live. Don't grow them for humans. You know?
Our food choices.
Yeah. Right?
Just like the first picture Dr. Shah said, that, that's the most important. Our food choices matter. Our food choices matter to our own health, to the health of animals, to the health of the environment.
Yeah. And some of these graphic images are coming up next is the evidence of tumors. These are cancers present in the beef. And I had one of my patients, she used to work in the meat department in the supermarket. And she was telling me, I said, Dr. Shah, you're right. But luckily my boss is a good soul. He will remove these tumors before selling it to the public. But she was not sure how many people actually do that. He was one of the rare ones, and when they come in and the meat is cooked, you don't even notice and you end up eating these cancers. Is that what we want in life? Eating cancer cells?
Exactly.
There's more cancers. It's gross.
It's so gruesome.
Look at this. These are all tumors.
So unfortunate. Like all of us pretty much, I think human beings are generally good souls. We don't realize what happens behind the scenes. When you say some people are better than the others, definitely. But I think most of us come from a place of not having enough knowledge. I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning to say, today I'm going to hurt somebody in order for me to eat. I think we all go with a good intention. Only thing is that we don't have enough knowledge or information available to us to know these things, right?
Correct. Yeah. That's why we're bringing these slides to you so you can wake up and see what is going on behind the walls of the animal industry. And on purpose, they hide all these things so that it does not affect their bottom line. So it's time that we should take the life of our own in our own hands,
Yeah. And why wouldn't they have these things? The animals are kept in such filthy conditions. Do you know most of the dairy cows and the beef cows are actually standing knee deep in their own poop and pee? So many insects on them.
Sure.
They are constantly, they have no other place to go. They're tied very tightly to the metal cages, and they have no place to move. So they're just standing and peeing and pooping in the same over and over again. It's so strong. The smell of that area is so strong, the ammonia, that if you were to go there, if you didn't have a oxygen mask, you would actually pass out. You would need that kind of thing. It is so strong. So why wouldn't these animals have these illnesses, which we are actually also consuming?
Once we visited in Morocco, they had a tannery, and it was very popular. It was in the city of Fez, which had been, this is going on for thousands of years. This tannery was around. So we noticed that, and when they took us there, and they were, of course, all these leathers which have been collected and all that, but you couldn't walk in. The smell was just horrible because they would clean them, all the skin hides and all that. And they gave us the twigs of mint. We had to keep it close to our nose so that we can all walk around and make it a little bit bearable. And that's where all these atrocities were there. So it's just, you can imagine, this is not just the decaying meat, but this is, you're talking about poop and pee and all those things. It's just, it's unbelievable.
If you were to fall in those water bodies which are surrounding these slaughterhouses,
Probably will not survive.
you will never be able to come out alive.
Yeah.
It's so pungent. It is so strong that it will kill you for sure.
Yeah. And sheep and goat, the same story goes on.
Mm-hmm. So when, the Easter comes and they have these baby lambs being killed,
Yes.
When I look at a baby lamb, I always think of it as a cute little thing, like Mary had a little lamb, that kind of a cuteness, right? I never thought, I didn't know about it till many, many years of my life, that actually baby lambs are being used to be eaten on a certain festival, similar to how turkeys are used for Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving,
So
right.
it just breaks my heart that we don't look at these animals. When on the menu it says lamb, I don't know how the image doesn't come to your mind that lamb is just a fluffy little frolicking, jumping around little animal, right? He's just a baby. Why don't we think of it like that? And we think of it like lamb. Wow, delicious. Let me get lamb chops.
Yeah, we never think of the baby at that time.
Yeah. And that is the disconnect. Look at these animals, right? So many times in India, I've passed by slaughterhouses, the roadside, small time slaughterhouses, and these animals would be hanging like this.
The goats, is it the goat?
Yes, the goats.
The goat.
And I would feel so disgusted just looking at them.
They are beheaded, and they're not.
They're beheaded, and they sometimes have babies thrown out. Like, there's one more thing I had to actually mention, that many a times these animals actually, when they go to slaughterhouses, they're already pregnant. They are made pregnant actually, because all of this meat goes by weight. So these animals, if they have another animal inside of them, they weigh much, much more, right? So I've seen so many videos where they cut open the cow and there's a little, inside the pouch, there's a little unborn calf, and it just gets discarded. It goes into, garbage. That is the kind of thing we're talking about. Like for us, when we are pregnant, like when I was pregnant, I was asked to take so much care of me. Eat this, don't eat that, don't walk fast, don't wear heels. But when it comes to these animals, don't their babies matter? I have seen with my own two eyes, like in India, I had seen a butcher shop and a baby goat just thrown outside. It was dead because it wasn't formed fully. But these are the things that we do to animals without any remorse.
Yes. And imagine the plight of the workers who actually work there, because psychologically they have to put up with this all the time. They don't think anything about it. I had one patient, he had been working in the animal factories all day long. And I just casually asked him, how do you feel at the end of the day? And he told me, he says, Doc, to come home and meditate, because I know I'm committing a lot of crimes, a lot of sins. I just have to balance because I do it because it's part of my job. But sometimes I wish I did not have to. It was so sad, and I had another patient of mine. He had made an appointment and he called me. He says, Dr. Shah, I'm running late. And can I come straight from work? I said, yeah, I don't care. I don't see any problem. I didn't remember what kind of work he was doing. So I said, okay. And here he walks into the office with the blood stains all over. His clothes were all work clothes and things like that. And I said, what happened to you? He says, Doc, this is what I do. I work in the factories, and this is my day-to-day life. I said, really? He said, what do you do? So he says, I do in the butchers, once how the meat and everything is taken off, and then whatever is left behind after that, I collect those things, because each and every component of the animal has a market, and I collect them, put in a drum. So,
you know what it makes me think, Neetu, like we are so compassionate about, if we have a pet cat, we have a pet dog, whatever, like they are a family to us. They are like everything, like, we get so emotionally attached. And how do we not feel, about, what do you think, Neetu? Like, we don't feel that these animals deserve any better than a pet that we love so much?
I think at this point we should wind up and maybe continue a little more, because we have a lot of more slides to come. So why don't you go through the procedure with the viewers so we can keep them tuned for the next show?
Right. So, today we showed you the disturbing side of how the beef, chicken, goat, all those meats come to your table. We hope that this sparks some more curiosity. You go and, on yourself, do some research, look at some videos, and find out more about it. And we hope that this curiosity sparks another aspect of, sort of rethinking your diet. There is absolutely everything available in the plant-based diet that will satisfy your hunger, your taste buds, flavor, and everything. So, Dr. Shah, Neetu, thank you so much for sharing with us all these facts, these really disturbing facts, but such eye openers. And friends, we will continue next time with even more, facts about animal or factory farming. Thank you very much, and hope to see you guys in next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.